Dominic Ashford stood in the lobby of Ashford Enterprises, reviewing quarterly reports on his tablet, when he heard the small voice. "Excuse me, sir, you dropped this." He looked down to find a little girl, maybe 3 years old, with blonde hair pulled into 2 messy buns, wearing a pink dress that was slightly too big. She was holding something out to him with both hands, her expression serious and determined. Dominic's breath stopped completely. In the child's small hands was a gold locket, delicate and ornate, catching the light from the windows. He knew that locket. He'd bought it 7 years ago for his wife Elena on their first anniversary. She'd worn it every single day until the car accident that had taken her life 3 years ago. "Where did you get that?" The words came out harsher than he intended, and the little girl's eyes went wide. "I found it on the floor. My mommy says when you find things, you give them back to who they belong to. Is it yours?" Dominic's hand trembled as he took the locket. He opened it with practiced fingers, and there they were. 2 tiny photographs. One of him, one of Elena, both laughing at something outside the frame. He'd taken these photos himself during their honeymoon in Italy. "Sir, are you okay?" A woman's voice, concerned. Dominic looked up to see someone approaching quickly, wearing the gray uniform of the building's cleaning staff. She had the same blonde hair as the little girl, pulled back in a practical ponytail, and worry etched across her young face. "Emma, I told you to stay by the cart. I'm so sorry, Mr. Ashford, she got away from me." The woman clearly knew who he was. Most of his employees did, at least by sight, but Dominic had no idea who she was. "Mommy, I gave back the lost thing, like you taught me," Emma said proudly. Dominic stared at the locket in his palm. "Where exactly did you find this?" Emma pointed toward the executive elevator. "Over there. It was on the floor, all shiny. I thought it was pretty, so I picked it up. But Mommy says pretty things that aren't ours have to go back to their owners." "Emma, come here right now," the woman said, reaching for her daughter's hand. She looked at Dominic with a mixture of fear and embarrassment. "I'm so sorry for the interruption." "We'll get out of your way. Wait," Dominic said. "Just wait. I need to understand. This locket, my wife's locket, has been missing for 3 years. I've torn my house apart looking for it. How did it end up on the floor of my building's lobby?" The woman, whose name tag read Sarah, looked confused. "I don't know, sir. Emma and I just started our shift 20 minutes ago. She must have spotted it while I was emptying trash cans. I swear we didn't take it. Emma just found it." Dominic realized how he must sound, almost accusatory, when this child had done exactly the right thing. He knelt down to Emma's level, trying to soften his expression. "Emma, I'm sorry if I scared you. This locket belonged to someone very special to me, someone I loved very much. She's not here anymore, and this is one of the last things I have to remember her by. I've been looking for it for a very long time. Thank you for giving it back to me." Emma studied him with the intense focus only small children could manage. "Did she go to heaven?" "Emma," Sarah said quickly. "That's not appropriate." "It's okay," Dominic said, his throat tight. "Yes, Emma, she went to heaven. My daddy's in heaven, too. Mommy says he watches over us. Maybe your wife was watching over you today and made sure I found her locket so I could give it back." The simple, childlike logic hit Dominic harder than any business setback ever had. This tiny girl who understood loss in her own way had just given him something more precious than anything money could buy. "Maybe she did," Dominic said quietly. "Thank you, Emma. You did a very good thing today. Can I ask you something?" Emma said, tilting her head. "Emma, we need to let Mr. Ashford get back to work," Sarah interjected, clearly desperate to end this interaction. "It's fine. What do you want to ask, Emma? Why do you look so sad? Even before I gave you the locket, you looked sad. Mommy says people who look sad need kindness." Sarah's face went red. "Emma, please." But Dominic found himself answering honestly. "I've been sad for a long time. Since my wife went to heaven, I haven't been very good at being happy without her." Emma considered this, then reached up and patted his cheek with her small hand. "That's okay. Mommy says being sad is okay. You just can't stay sad forever. You have to find new happy things. Even when you miss the old happy things." Dominic felt something crack in his chest. He looked up at Sarah, this young woman who was clearly raising a remarkably perceptive child while working as a janitor in his building. A woman he'd probably walked past a dozen times without seeing. How old is Emma? He asked. 3.5? Sarah said, still looking like she wanted to disappear into the floor. And your husband? Sarah's expression closed off. Died 2 years ago. Military service. We're doing fine on our own, but they clearly weren't fine. Sarah's uniform was worn, her shoes were held together with glue, and Emma's dress, while clean, was obviously second-hand. Dominic recognized the signs of someone barely making ends meet. What's your full name? He asked. Sarah Bennett. Mr. Ashford, I promise this won't happen again. Emma usually stays in the break room during my shifts, but my regular sitter is sick and... You bring your daughter to work with you? Sarah lifted her chin, defensive now. Only when I have no other choice. She stays out of the way. She colors her place quietly. She doesn't bother anyone. Except CEOs looking at tablets, Dominic said, but gently. Sarah, I'm not upset. I'm trying to understand your situation. How long have you worked for this company? 6 months. Night shift cleaning crew. And before that, I was working at a diner, but the hours weren't compatible with childcare. This job lets me work while Emma sleeps, usually. Today was an exception. Dominic looked at this woman who was working a thankless job, raising a child alone, teaching that child about kindness and returning lost things, all while dealing with her own grief. Then he looked at Emma, who was studying the pattern on the marble floor with intense concentration, apparently satisfied that she'd completed her mission. Emma, Dominic said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Emma's face lit up. A vet. I love animals. But Mommy says college is expensive, so maybe I'll be an animal walker instead. Emma, Sarah said tiredly. The word is dog walker. I walk all animals, not just dogs, Emma insisted. Dominic made a decision. Sarah, what time does your shift end? 6 a.m. Can you come to my office at 6:15? Both of you. Sarah's face went pale. Mr. Ashford, if this is about Emma interrupting you, I swear it won't happen again. Please don't fire me. I need this job. I can't afford to lose this job. I'm not firing you. Just come to my office. 34th floor, 6:15. He stood, clutched the locket tight in his hand, and walked toward the executive elevator, leaving Sarah and Emma staring after him in confusion. The next few hours passed in a blur. Dominic couldn't focus on work. He kept opening the locket, looking at Elena's face, remembering her laugh, her warmth, the way she'd always seen people others overlooked. She'd volunteered at shelters, donated to causes, insisted that their wealth was meaningless if they didn't use it to help others. He'd lost himself after she died. Buried himself in work, stopped seeing people, stopped seeing the world beyond profit margins and quarterly earnings. A 3-year-old had just reminded him how to be human again. At 6:15, there was a hesitant knock on his office door. Sarah and Emma entered, Sarah looking terrified, Emma looking around with wide-eyed wonder. Wow, Emma breathed. Your office is so high up. You can see everything. Emma, inside voice? Sarah whispered. Dominic smiled. It's okay. Emma, would you like to look out the window while I talk to your mom? Emma nodded enthusiastically and ran to the floor-to-ceiling windows, pressing her face against the glass. Sarah, sit down, please. Sarah perched on the edge of the chair across from his desk, looking like she might bolt at any moment. You think I'm going to fire you, Dominic said. Aren't you? No, I'm going to offer you a different job. Executive assistant. Day hours, weekends off, salary that's triple what you're making now. Full benefits, including childcare assistance and college savings plan for Emma. Sarah stared at him. This is because Emma found your locket. No. This is because I watched a woman raising a remarkable child, teaching her about kindness and integrity while working night shifts and dealing with loss. This is because my company has programs to help military families, but somehow you fell through the cracks. This is because Elena, my wife, would have loved Emma, and she would have been furious with me for walking past people like you every day without seeing them. I'm not qualified to be an executive assistant. You're organized enough to work full-time, raise a child, and teach her to return things that aren't hers instead of keeping them. That's more qualification than half the people I've hired. The rest we can train. What do you say? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Why are you doing this? Because 3 years ago I lost the person who made me want to be better. I've been going through the motions ever since, building a company but forgetting why it mattered. Your daughter walked up to me today and reminded me that kindness matters, that seeing people matters, that Elena didn't die so I could become someone she wouldn't recognize. I'm doing this because it's the right thing to do, and because Elena would have wanted me to." Sarah covered her face with her hands and sobbed. Emma ran over alarmed. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "Happy tears, baby." "These are happy tears." Sarah took the job. She started the following week and proved to be exactly what Dominic needed. Organized, intuitive, honest to a fault. She ran his schedule with military precision and called him out when he was being difficult. She became not just an employee, but a friend. Emma started in the company's childcare program, thriving with other children her age and regular activities. She drew Dominic pictures that he hung in his office, replacing the sterile corporate art. She asked him questions about his wife, seeming to understand that he needed to talk about Elena. To keep her memory alive, what was her favorite color? Emma asked one day when Sarah brought her by the office. Blue? Sky blue like a perfect summer day. Did she like animals? She loved them. We had 3 dogs and 2 cats. After she died, I gave them away because I couldn't take care of them and work all the time. Emma looked horrified. You gave away your pets? I know it was wrong, but I couldn't take care of them properly. When I grow up and become a vet, I'll help you get new pets, and I'll teach you how to take care of them even when you're sad. Dominic found himself smiling more those days. The office felt different with Sarah there, with Emma occasionally visiting, with reminders that life existed beyond spreadsheets and board meetings. 6 months after Emma had returned the locket, Dominic restructured his schedule to work less. He started volunteering at the same shelter Elena had loved. He adopted 2 dogs, with Emma's enthusiastic approval and assistance. He began dating again, not seriously, but at least opening himself to the possibility of connection. He kept the locket in his desk drawer now, taking it out sometimes to look at Elena's face. But it no longer felt like all he had left of her. Instead, it felt like a reminder of the woman who'd taught him to see people, to value kindness, to understand that success meant nothing without compassion. On the anniversary of Elena's death, Dominic asked Sarah and Emma to join him for dinner, not as his employee and her daughter, but as his friends. They went to a quiet restaurant and Dominic told them stories about Elena, making Emma giggle with tales of Elena's terrible cooking and worse singing. She sounds like she was really nice, Emma said, eating her chicken fingers with serious concentration. She was the best person I knew, Dominic agreed. I think she'd be happy you're not so sad anymore. Why do you think that? Emma shrugged, wisdom beyond her years in her young eyes. Because when you love someone, you want them to be happy. Even if you're in heaven and they're here, you want them to find new happy things. Mommy says Daddy wants us to be happy even though he can't be here. I think your wife wants that too. Dominic felt the familiar tightness in his throat. I think you're right. 2 years later, when Emma started kindergarten, Dominic established the Elena Ashford Scholarship Fund, providing full college scholarships to children of single parents and military families. Sarah helped him run it, screening applications and selecting recipients who embodied the values Elena had lived by. At the first scholarship ceremony, Dominic told the story of the locket, about losing it for 3 years, about a 3-year-old who'd found it and returned it, about how that simple act of kindness had changed his life. Emma didn't just return a piece of jewelry that day, Dominic said to the audience. She returned something I'd lost when my wife died, hope, connection, purpose. She reminded me that kindness matters, that seeing people matters, that we're all connected by the small choices we make every day. This scholarship exists because a little girl did the right thing when no one was watching, because her mother taught her that found things should be returned, because they both showed me that loss doesn't have to be the end of the story. Emma, now 5 and sitting in the front row next to her mother, beamed with pride. Years later, when Emma was older and asked Dominic why he'd really helped them so much, he pulled out the locket. You gave this back to me when you could have kept it, when your mother was struggling financially and could have sold it. Instead, you walked up to a stranger and returned something that wasn't yours. Do you know what that told me? That I'm a good kid? That your mother was raising you right. That despite loss and hardship, she was teaching you integrity. And it reminded me of something my wife used to say. We're measured not by what we accumulate, but by what we give away. You gave me back something precious. I wanted to give something back to you and your mom. The locket. No, opportunity. Hope. A chance for both of you to build something better. Your mom did the rest. She worked hard, learned fast, became indispensable. You did the rest too by being exactly who you are. Kind, curious, honest. The locket just opened the door. You both walked through it. The locket lived in Dominic's desk drawer, but its real value wasn't the gold or the photos. It was the reminder of what it had cost to lose Elena and what it had given him to find the locket again. A little girl with messy buns and a serious expression, saying, "You dropped this, sir," and changing everything. Because sometimes we don't drop things by accident. Sometimes the universe makes sure we lose something so that the right person can find it and give it back. Showing us in the process what we'd really lost wasn't an object at all. Sometimes the things we've lost lead us to the people we need to find. And sometimes a child's simple act of kindness becomes the thread that weaves broken people back into something whole. If this story reminded you that small acts of integrity can change lives, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment about a time someone returned something precious to you, or when you chose to do the right thing when no one was watching. Those moments matter more than we know. They're the threads that hold our humanity together.